he developed complications after his vaccination.
The hospital refused to comment on this case and refused to admit liability for the jabs that have caused this family untold anguish.
The wall of emotion and between sobs tells the story of a bundle of joy, now a source of discomfort. Austin Njoroge, their only boy, was born on the 7th of February at the Kihara Sub-County Hospital in Kiambu County. He was healthy at the time of birth, but just 3 days later, things took a drastic turn.
Monday ikifika tukafanya hivyo, tukampeleka akapewa BCG na akapewa polio. Then tukarudi nyumbani. Usiku ya Monday mtoto alikuwa analia, hataki kunyonya venye alikuwa ananyonya mbeleni. Then mkono ikaanza kukua baridi kidogo kidogo. On Tuesday mkono ikakuwa baridi kabisa.
It was an event that would change the couple's lives and scar them forever. What they expected would be a normal vaccination to help their child boost his immunity turned catastrophic.
Akianza kutibiwa nikamwambia mtoto kaa hajadungwa, nikamwambia mtoto alidungwa BCG huko jana na mkono imekuwa baridi. Ikakuwa na blisters ziko na maji, tukaambiwa haziwezi tombolewa zisimwage hiyo maji. Na mguu ilikuwa tu hivyo same, atiacho ikauke yenyewe.
It was doctors at Kenyatta National Hospital who prescribed medication.
Mtoto tukaambiwa sasa hakuna kitu ingine juu hizo parts zimekufa, tugoje ikauke kabisa ikae mbao ndio sasa waende wakate.
The couple had reported the Kihara Sub-County Hospital to the police over the vaccination that they say was the cause of all their torment. Efforts to reach the hospital for comment on the matter proved futile.
We need to know what is your comment as Kihara Hospital.
I'm under instruction to never post the media, but all the data has been forwarded to the CC of Health.
To the?
So that is CC of Health, Kiambu County. She has all the details regarding that case. Okay,
and so because the child was born in this hospital and injected in this hospital, you still can't say anything?
I cannot say anything, unfortunately.
When Njoroge was born, he had all his limbs intact, but now he doesn't have his right leg and his left hand. It's been a hard 3 months for his parents, who've not even been able to pay their rent because of hospital expenses. For now, they're hoping that justice will be served for this little baby boy. Mel Miendo, NTV in Denderu, Kiambu County.
Today would have been Ivy Wangeshi's birthday, but it will be a grim anniversary. Instead of a party, her friends will be staging a vigil to demand justice and celebrate a life that was cut short in the most savage of ways.
Ivy, who was a 6th-year medicine student at the Moi University, was slaughtered right outside the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, where she had been doing ward rounds.
And as NTV's Charity Mwangi now tells us, her friends and the community where she grew up have defended her against claims that she and her killer were in a relationship.
Ivy Wangeshi's budding life story came to an abrupt end on the eve of her birthday, a day that her would-be killer was also eagerly waiting for. He had even sent his alleged lover money to ensure she gets a befitting celebration.
He had come to celebrate with the lady who has been his friend, and then the lady didn't pick his calls. She switched off her phone, and then the man became annoyed.
What would have been a grand party has now been replaced by a somber mood as her friends try to wrap their minds around yesterday's events. They have disproved claims that the suspect, Naftali Njahi Kinuthia, was their friend's lover since their high school years.
She had been planning for this day for the longest time. She had plans to go for dinner with her close friends. She had plans to have a party where we could join her. And so it was a really big blow for her to die on the day, to be murdered on the day before her birthday.
Naftali confessed to investigators that he trailed the late Ivy, observed her movements for a while before he attacked her with an axe and a knife. At the Moi University, the students continued their protests and demands for justice. Naftali Njahi Kinuthia, who was roughed up by the members of the public, is now stable and may be discharged from hospital tomorrow. He is expected to be arraigned the moment he leaves hospital.
The postmortem was done, of which there are some samples of which we are going to take them to government chemist, that is in Kisumu. And then we interrogate him and they take him before court of law.
Meanwhile, the community at the Makongeni estate in Thika mourns of one of their own, a young and promising life snuffed out in the most brutal way. 7 years ago, Ivy Wangeshi's parents sent her into the unknown, convinced she would make a life for herself. But now, they will never know.
It is a great loss, and in fact, bearing the fact that the family had great hope in her and even the community.
A local trader mourns a girl who was more of a daughter to her, owing to her close friendship with her mother. The last time Ivy was home, she stayed for just a week, and to them she remained true to her virtuous upbringing.
Yani alikuwa mtu mzuri. Sisi hatujaamini vile ilienda.
The community says the whirlwind of whispers about her and the kind of life she had led while in school don't sound anything like her. They say she had a strong Christian upbringing, which she has tried to keep to. Whispers that they say have tainted their families' and community's memory of her. But what of the man who took her life?
I don't know the boy. I wish I could know him.
People should not believe a word about what is circulating around about the girl. As a community, definitely we are consoling the family. We are with them in prayers.
The neighbors have also refuted claims she was in a relationship with Naftali Kinothia, her killer. Their biggest regret, however, is her lost dreams that now will never come true.
We are just like another community waiting to celebrate our achievements.
Angered by the events that transpired in Eldoret, the community here in Makongeni Thika wants a speedy conclusion of the investigations leading to a conviction. This even though they know that it will not bring back their loved one. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Most patients detest hospital stays and would want to leave as soon as is practically possible. Now imagine staying in hospital for weeks, months or years, not because you're unwell, but because you have been abandoned and you have no home to go back to.
The Kenyatta National Hospital is currently grappling with the dilemma of 20 patients abandoned by their kin at the facility. NTV's Brenda Wanga reports.
At the Kenyatta Hospital, patients come in sick and leave after getting the treatment they sought. Not so much for a special group of patients. These are the abandoned and unknown residents of this facility. Residents because they have been here way beyond their discharge date and are likely to stay even much longer. Caroline Duta delivered a baby by the roadside in 2017. She was brought in here by a good Samaritan. She recovered from childbirth but hasn't left the hospital since. Her child has since been taken in by a children's home. Her situation is different.
We have homes for children below 18 and for the aged above 70. So the middle-aged abandoned, we have a problem placing them. The leaves are as stranded with the patients because if the relatives are not coming up to pick the patients, and again we cannot throw them away on the street.
Joseph has been here for 4 months. He says his family hasn't been to see him since his admission and subsequent discharge.
Huku masista zangu wakakuja wakaona walikuwa nasema nimekufa.
The same predicament has befallen little Kefa and this little baby girl. They've been here for close to 1 year.
The baby was left here by the mother just after birth because of the birth anomalies that they have.
Disabilities like these of the babies are the most common reasons why parents abandon their babies at the hospital. The adults too are often left here by their kin for various reasons. The hospital says it often waives the fees for those who are unable to pay, but still patients like Caro remain in the wards, unable to escape the self-imposed prison that is the concrete walls of KNH.
Cut off from social life, they are exposed to infections because this is a well person living with sick patients. Yes. It is very difficult. It is very difficult. Sometimes, like Duta always crying to us, please, sister, take me home, take me home. You don't know what to do. Or sometimes she even pleads with us to go with her to our homes. Yes, for a break.
Now the hospital's administration is asking for anyone out there who may have any information on the whereabouts of these patients' relatives to come forth and help identify them and reunite them with their families. Brenda Wanga, NTV, at the Kenyatta National Hospital.
Opportunities in formal employment have withered. Workers should now brace for massive job cuts across the horticulture, manufacturing and timber sectors as the cost of doing business in the country continues to rise.
NTV's Bridget Sangana with the bleak forecast for those in employment.
2019 is nearly halfway and already the predictions are grim for those in formal employment.
This is something that has been happening in the last few years as we have gone through a dip in the performance of the economy, coming from the political tensions we had, the current drought, and the changes in the global market.
The Federation of Kenya Employers says the prevailing business environment, characterized by rising taxes and changes in labor legislations, are repulsing local and foreign investors and further increasing the unemployment burden in the country.
The financial sector has been under stress, the agricultural sector has been under stress, the manufacturing sector has seen a number of exits. And now with the ban on logging, for instance, the employees in that sector have also had to be exited because those companies have had to close down.
Nearly 2 million Kenyans are formally employed, and FKE proposes that the government should begin the process of formalizing the informal sector, which employs close to 10 million Kenyans, as it seeks to meet its revenue collection targets.
The numbers are quite high, but they could have been worse because employers have done the utmost they can to keep people in employment. Our fear is that as we continue to increase the cost of doing business and impose new levies, then companies have to make a decision. How many people can you retain in employment and still run a profitable business?
2019 marks 60 years since the Federation of Kenya Employers was established, and it largely represents private sector employers. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Now let's take a look at unemployment in the context of some numbers. Now the Labour Force Basic Report released in March of 2018 shows that the unemployment rate stands at 7.4%. But that number differs from that released by the International Labour Organization, which puts the youth unemployment rate at 11.5. Now, several other sources put that figure even higher. Now, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics generated Labour Force Basic Report, 85% of those unemployed are below the age of 35. The largest unemployment rate was recorded in the age cohort of 20 to 24 at 19.2%. And more women than men are unemployed at 64.5%. Now, with an estimated 800,000 to 1 million entering the job market every year, those figures risk going even higher should the Jubilee administration fail to deliver on its promise of creating 1.3 million jobs annually. Back to you, Dennis.
Well, that leads us to our opinion count tonight. Do you think employers are justified to lay off employees? Do you think employers are justified to lay off employees?
You can send your thoughts to @NTV Kenya, @O_Barrows, or @Dennis Okari. You can also text us on 80686. That is a toll-free number. Now, on to other stories making the news. Those weren't the only areas on. There were several areas on fire today. City Hall was under fire after Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko snapped an invite to appear before the Senate's Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations Committee to address concerns about how he's been running the county. Sonko is said to be out of the country on official business, but the Senate didn't take it very kindly. NTV's Silas Apollo reports.
Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, who was set to appear before the Senate's Devolution Committee, is said to be out of the country for an official visit. But the senators, somehow unconvinced, said his decision not to appear was in bad faith.
The county executive.
Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja, a member of the committee, has raised concerns with the manner the governor is running the affairs of the city-county, which he argues has affected the delivery of services to residents. The senator wants to know why the governor has refused to appoint a deputy since the resignation of Polycarp Igathe in early 2018, even after the Supreme Court gave county bosses the green light.
Whoever will be proposed, lazima nikae na yeye nijue ni mtu aina gani, kama atakuja tena alafu kesho yake resign, nipukue portrayed as a rogue leader as vile watu wanapenda kufanya.
Sonko is also accused of running the administration without a properly constituted county executive committee, having fired most of the members. Nairobi County Assembly Speaker Beatrice Elachi was also impeached by the Assembly, but the Labour Court stopped her removal until her case has been heard and determined. And today, the Devolution Committee was forced to adjourn its sitting after the governor failed to turn up without an apology. The senators have argued that the governor's continued operation without substantive office orders undermines devolution and sets a bad precedent. They say his government is not properly constituted as stipulated in law. Igathe resigned in January last year after he differed with Sonko. The Senate argues that a failure to pick the deputy shows the governor's contempt for the role of deputy governors, which has undermined the delivery of services to residents of Nairobi. In an advisory opinion, the Supreme Court ruled that governors are free to pick their deputies with the approval of the county assembly in the event that the seat falls vacant. Silas Apollo, NTV.
3 people died and 12 others are nursing serious burn injuries at the Kenyatta National Hospital following last night's fire that broke out in the Korogosho market.
Elsewhere, traders at the Gikomba market are yet again counting losses after a fire razed their property this morning. NTV's Helen Wanjohi has more details.
A Tuesday night fire snuffed out the lives of 3 people and left 12 others fighting for their lives in hospital. The flames also leaking through their livelihoods as it reduced their stalls and goods of unknown value to ashes. Witnesses said the inferno spread quickly, flattening the tin stalls and destroying their stock. The cause of the fire is yet to be established. In Gikomba, most of the traders who own shoe kiosks and stores woke to the shocking news of yet another fire, which is reported to have started at about 2 a.m. and went on till 6 a.m. Some residents claim it could have been an arson, pointing to the dragged-out dispute over land between alleged grabbers and the traders, and that has been blamed for the many fire incidents.
Hii ni mara ya ngapi Gikomba kuchomeka? Tumekuwa tukiongea na ikichomeka tu, serikali wakikuja wanasema serikali itachukua hatua kali. Kila wakati kunapochomeka serikali itachukua hatua kali. Na sisi tunaendelea kufilisikia hapa Gikomba.
The cause of the fire is not yet known as the KDF soldiers and the Nairobi County Fire Brigade team battled the flames to stop their spread to other parts of the market. The incident has displaced many traders from all over the country, and they are now appealing to the national government to launch investigations on the cause of the fire breakouts. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
We now take a break, but a reminder of our opinion count question. We ask, do you think employers are justified to lay off employees? Remember, you can tweet us at NTV Kenya, at Obarus, at Dennis Okari, and of course on our on our SMS number 80686. Have I that right? Did I get that right?
Correct.
All right.
In the meantime, we take a short break. NTV Tonight returns.
Thank you for staying with NTV Tonight. Residents in 13 counties adversely affected by the drought situation in the country will continue feeling the pangs of hunger as the long rains delay.
The government, however, says immediate interventions have been put in place to provide food and water to the people and livestock to cushion them from the ravages of famine, as it released 1.8 billion shillings to address the situation.
Zainab Ismail with more details.
For the over 700 residents of Bularahma in Tana River County, food is now much harder to come by with each passing sunny day. The delayed rains have stunted their crops, and now they have even less food for them and their livestock. They say they've had to survive on one meal a day and are forced to take long treks in search of pasture and water for their livestock.
Kama saa hakuna maji, ni ukame. Watu wana survive tu hivyo, hakuna kenye wanakula hapa.
These villagers say they've had to abandon their fertile lands after their produce was swept away by floods back in 2018. Their county, Tana River, is among the 13 counties in dire need of relief food and marked by the government for urgent intervention.
We are still hopeful that the rains will come and all will be well. But in the event that this does not happen, the experts are also indicating that the situation could worsen.
But the government says it has put in place various mitigation strategies, among them water tracking and rehabilitation of boreholes.
We continue urging the county governments, those that have not set up emergency funds, to do so, because the situation as it is serious, and we expect the counties as our first line of defense to be able to deal with this situation.
The weatherman has, however, said most parts of the country will continue experiencing dry weather conditions as the effects of delayed March, April, May rains continue to be felt.
The writing is on the wall. If the rains don't come and come now, it will only make matters worse for many Kenyans around the country in counties who are already facing serious food shortages and serious potential for hunger and for major disaster.
Drought situation in Kenya is as bad as it was in 2017. It is not. We only have 1.1 million Kenyans affected compared to 3.5 million. And we are going to put in place remedial measures to ensure that we deal with this situation.
Despite the weather outlook, the government says that the country is food deficient and that there is enough maize reserve to last the country until July this year. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
And in news from the courts, 4 people were today charged with the murder of a couple and their 5-year-old child in Kericho County last week.
Police say the 4 are part of a gang that has been terrorizing residents there. They appeared before Magistrate Bernard Rugut, but they did not take plea as police asked for more time to conclude investigations. The couple and their 5-year-old child were murdered at their home in Malit village on the 2nd of April. The suspects will remain in custody until the 2nd of May, when the case will be mentioned.
Elsewhere, former Public Service Commission CEO Dr. Alice Otwala has denied she wrote to former ICT Principal Secretary Sami Itemere requesting him to allow the government advertising agency to place adverts in the Sunday Express, a newspaper owned by Lugari Member of Parliament Ayub Savula.
She was appearing in court today as the third witness in the 122 million shillings advertising scandal case against Savula and others.
All necessary relevant my learning.
Time for another break, but we promise you we have plenty lined up.
Of members of parliament are calling for the resignation of the Kenya Airports Authority's chairman Isaac Awondo, citing conflict of interest. Awondo also serves as the chief executive officer of the Commercial Bank of Africa. The conflict of interest is based on the fact that CBA is seeking to merge with the NIC Bank, while Kenya Airways owes the two banks 5 billion shillings. This even as KAA questioned the capacity of Kenya Airways to manage, operate and maintain the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Lillian Carrier with more on that story.
The recent change of tune on the proposal of the JKIA takeover by the national airline has unearthed various issues of concern. From the government revealing it was reconsidering the takeover plan yesterday, to KAA today expressing lack of confidence in KQ's bid.
So I think that has been made.
Appearing before the Transport Committee today, KAA MD Johnny Anderson said that they found some gaps in the privately initiated investment proposal.
Do they have the financial strength? We are questioning that. Number two, do they have the technical capability to run an airport?
The committee tried to debunk why a profit-making entity such as KAA would leave the management of JKIA to a loss-making entity like KQ. This prompting them to question how KAA's chairman, Isaac Awondo, was allowed to hold the position despite being the CEO of Commercial Bank of Africa, which has interests in KQ.
Can we know the interest of the chair?
I sit on the board of CBA, which as an institution has an interest in Kenya Airways, be it indirectly and as a day-to-day banking relationship.
I really wished that he had been also candid to take one of the most wise decisions and resign from one of the entities.
Indeed, I can confirm that we are owed money by Kenya Airways. It's somewhere around 5 billion shillings.
With the performance of Kenya's aviation sector being on a downward trajectory and the national airline losing its market share to other regional competitors, the Transport Committee today has asked the Kenya Airports Authority to come up with a proposal on how they can turn around this performance and submit it before the committee by the 24th of April. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
And let's move from the Airports Authority to the Ports Authority. And the former Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director Catherine Muturi Wairi has distanced herself from the irregular award of a 40 billion shilling tender for the construction of the Kipevu Oil Terminal. Wairi, who was questioned by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, is being investigated along 16 other KPA top officials, among them the current Managing Director Daniel Manduku, over their involvement in the multi-billion shilling tender issued in October 2018. NTV's Seth Olale with the details.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is closing in on masterminds of the 40 billion shillings Kipevu Oil Terminal construction tender scandal. Former Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director Catherine Muturi Wairi was today grilled for hours by detectives at the Mombasa EACC head offices. Muturi Wairi told interrogators that she was not in the office at the time the tender was awarded.
If the tender happened in October, then I had already left the organization because I left towards the end of May last year. And apparently the tender was awarded in October. So my job here is just to appear and shed some light on what the investigations are all about and make a statement.
The tender that had been awarded to China Communications Construction Company was reportedly estimated to cost 15 billion shillings initially, but the cost rose to 25 billion shillings and later to 40 billion shillings. Mombasa EACC boss Jafet Baitalu said investigations are still ongoing and that they are gathering more information into the multi-billion scandal.
As I said, investigations are at a very preliminary stage. The amounts involved are quite enormous. It's about 40 billion that we are looking at. And if this money was lost, then this is going to be a major scandal. However, we cannot say at this stage whether the money was lost or not because it's an allegation.
EACC has summoned 16 top officials at Kenya Ports Authority, among them Managing Director Daniel Manduku, who is scheduled to be questioned at the EACC Mombasa Regional Office at 10 a.m. Thursday. Others summoned include Head of Procurement and Supplies Anthony Namancha, former Head of Procurement and Supplies Yobesh Oyaro, and Chairman of the Tender Committee Rashid Salim. Other officials are Adzad Zengo, Geoffrey Kavate, Edward Kamau, Dan Amadi, Margaret Shayo, Beatrice Ratemo, Geoffrey Namadoa, Raymond Ward, Miguel Pires, and due diligence team member William Tinai. Seth Olale, NTV.
And staying with matters transport, the draft national automotive policy is set to be validated on Friday, with the government keen on having the policy become law, despite opposition from second-hand car dealers on the age limit issue. Alex Mwangi takes a look at what the policy aims to achieve and why its full implementation is easier said than done.
Currently, motor vehicle assembly plants in Kenya are operating at an average of 16%, producing just about 5,000 vehicles per annum against an installed capacity of 34,000 vehicles single shift. The National Automotive Policy, whose draft is set to be validated this Friday, seeks to address this among a host of other challenges facing the manufacturing sector.
I believe the Big Four is an amazing statement by the government, by everyone, and it's really got a lot of substance to it. However, the challenge inside that is right now there are specifically no clear actions of what we're going to do in each area to make it happen.
One of the key drivers of growing a country into a developing country is really to grow their manufacturing sector and sustain that growth for a period of about 10 years and sustain it at about 15% to 20% contribution.
The National Automotive Policy seeks to implement a total ban of used, fully built units of commercial vehicles. It also plans to phase out the importation of fully built units of passenger vehicles. Cars exceeding 1,500 cc will have their age limit reduced from 8 years to 5 years this year, from 5 years to 3 years in 2021, and from 3 years to 0 in 2023. This will hopefully put wind in the sails of the manufacturing sector.
The reality is other sectors seem to be growing at a faster rate than the manufacturing sector. That's also part of it. If you look at manufacturing output generally, the output is increasing, but in terms of the pie and the contribution to the GDP, it is smaller.
Manufacturing to go up from 8% today to 15% of GDP in 2022. It needs a 33% increase on our current production in Kenya.
Second-hand car sellers are opposed to parts of the National Automotive Policy, but the government is keen to push ahead with it in a bid to restore glory to the manufacturing sector, which forms a critical cog of Kenya's economy. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
Now, Kenya can now begin exporting avocados, baby carrots, baby beans and broccoli to Mauritius after the island nation lifted the ban as it signed trade agreements with President Uhuru Kenyatta. In the past, Kenyan avocados and fruits were not allowed into countries such as South Africa due to failure to meet safety conditions. Mauritius has, however, set conditions which Kenya will have to meet regarding chemical residue storage and transportation as per the Mauritian National Plant Protection Office standards. President Kenyatta and his host, Prime Minister Pravin Jugnauth, also signed double taxation avoidance agreement, an investment promotion and protection agreement, and an MOU on cooperation for the development of special economic zones. Elsewhere, delay in gazettement of regulations guiding the issuance of rebates on electricity costs incurred by manufacturers is the reason industry players are yet to begin benefiting from the provisions of the Finance Act of 2018. The Act amended Section 15 of the Income Tax Act to allow for a deduction of 30% of the cost incurred in electricity by manufacturers in determination of taxable income. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers is now exploring ways on how to widen the rebate benefits to manufacturers.
We've been working on how that will be implemented because the Act required the Ministry of Energy to come up with the guidelines. So the guidelines have been developed between the Ministry of Industry, National Treasury, and Ministry of Energy. The guidelines need to be gazetted, however, because for taxpayers to take advantage of them, we need to have those guidelines gazetted. The next conversation is how we move to a sectoral approach so that over and above the rebate, the sectors that are high consumers of power, like cement and steel, how do we give them an additional rebate over and above the rebate that cuts across the entire industry?
And Kenya is likely to have its first nuclear law by July this year. The Parliamentary Select Committee on Energy has exuded confidence that the nuclear bill currently before it will sail through both the National and Senate assemblies due to what members term as a watertight document. The committee chairman, David Gikaria, says that with the legislation in place, the country would have made great strides in its quest for nuclear power by 2027. The committee members were speaking in Kisumu on the sidelines of a public participatory forum where residents had a chance to scrutinize and give their views on the draft bill. The legislators noted that nuclear energy would spur significant economic growth in the country by reducing the cost of electricity, hence boosting the manufacturing sector.
For us to be able to attain the big four, energy and nuclear, basically energy is what will take us to that level. If we have to be manufacturing in a country, then we have to have power. And that power that is safe, reliable, and it's effective. We are told it's only in Kenya where you get blackouts. In other countries where they have nuclear power, the blackout issue is there, and it is there continuous for 18 months, and then again it's re-energized, it takes you for another 18 months.
Other than just driving the economy, if we are able to set up even a nuclear reactor in Mombasa, we'll be able to produce isotopes that we can use in the treatment of those suffering from cancer. So I want to encourage Kenyans that this is the future, this is the direction to go. Kenya has always been leading in Africa. The country which has a robust economy in Africa is South Africa. The second to South Africa is Kenya. South Africa is where it is because of nuclear energy.
We are already using nuclear. You know, there are people who do not know that the microwaves that we are using in our houses are using nuclear technology. Even the planes that we bought are using nuclear technology. Even the phones. The connection between your phone and the booster, wherever it is through nuclear technology. So let us change our negative attitude towards this and embrace it, because this is where the world is headed towards.
And that's all we had for the Business Bulletin tonight. Time now to see how the capital and forex markets were performing in the financial report.
Nani? Wi-Fi password tafadhali.
Welcome back to NTV tonight. The Orange Democratic Movement has dismissed claims by Deputy President William Ruto that Raila Odinga reached out to him on 4 different occasions on phone and through emissaries requesting they work together to undermine the Jubilee government and President Kenyatta.
Ruto, who spoke to Citizen Television, also said he declined a request for cooperation, which was later accepted by President Kenyatta. Ken Mijungu reports.
Before Raila Odinga engaged the president on the matter of the handshake, he engaged me.
The statement that has the Orange Democratic Movement bare-knuckled in a hard-hitting press release signed by Edwin Sifuna, the party Secretary General. ODM sought to set the record straight. The party says it was Ruto who sent Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi to Raila. ODM also claims Ruto sent a female former powerful cabinet minister from the Rift Valley with the same proposal to help tame, quote, Uhuru and his people.
Raila Odinga approached me on 4 occasions.
Before talking to the president?
Yes.
After the election?
After the election, to have a discussion. I declined to engage the former Prime Minister.
ODM claims that this proposal was rejected and that Raila ordered the end of further engagements, with those claiming they were sent by Ruto. Soon after, there was the handshake deal with Uhuru. Ruto also says in the same interview that Uhuru was aware of those attempts by Raila.
For every approach that was made by Raila Odinga to me, I informed the president, right?
And he told you not to?
No, I told him myself.
Did he respond?
I will not. No, I told him I will not engage Raila Odinga. And the second reason is I did not believe that he was doing this in good faith.
The content of this handshake remains unknown, and several leaders have called on the two to make it available. Ruto has also claimed in the past that he was aware of the handshake and the events leading to it. This, however, was the first time Ruto made these claims that Raila reached out to him.
In fact, on 2 occasions, we actually spoke on the phone when he sent some emissary. And I could hear the trend, you can see the president has already started to appoint ministers. And you remember when the president appointed the first 6 ministers, and there was a bit of hula baloo there. But I told him, my friend, initially we were running a coalition. Today, we have a party. The president is the head of this party. He doesn't have to consult me, right? So I could see where the thing was going.
ODM ends the statement by claiming that Ruto is the biggest enemy of the handshake. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Let's revisit our top story. A parent's intrinsic wish is for their children to turn out well. However, for a Kiambu couple, this wish does not resonate. What started off as a routine vaccination exercise turned their world upside down.
They cuddled their 2-month-old not for love but to ease the pain he is suffering from. Grab your copy of the Daily Nation and read more about the tear-jerking story of a medical blunder that has left the child with severed limbs.
Sports coming up next with Warode Kiro.
Of the day on Wednesday in the Kenyan Premier League, with 3 of the 4 matches played ending in stalemates. The solitary win saw visiting Sony Sugar too sweet for Mathare United as they won 2-1 at the Kasarani Stadium. Sony Sugar rose to 4th in the Kenyan Premier League after beating Mathare United 2-1 at Kasarani. The Awendo-based side took the lead in the 27th minute through Daniel Otieno. 4 minutes later, Klinsmann Omulanga equalized for the Slum Boys. Enoch Agwanda then secured the 4th win in 6 matches for the Sugar Millers, while consigning Mathare United to only 1 win in their last 6 matches.
We're going to work on our finishing. As you can see from this match, there were about 6 chances we had to score, but we missed all of them. But we thank God for these 3 points.
And sometimes when you play these kind of teams, they need that opportunity. And they did utilize the 2 goals, because after the 2 goals, I haven't seen any attack.
In Machakos, AFC Leopards settled for a 1-1 draw with Kakamega Homeboys, where Yvonne Isuza put Ingwe ahead with his 4th league goal in 4 matches. Leopards goalkeeper Jarius Adira could not deal with Alan Wanga's shot, resulting in an own goal. In the day's other games, Sofapaka drew 0-0 with Ulinzi, as did Cheminil Sugar against Posta Rangers. On Thursday, Tusker faced KCB, Nzoia Sugar play Vihiga, and Western Stima tackle Kariobangi Sharks. Staying with football, and coastal side Bandare's winning run over Gor Mahia continued as the Docksmen knocked out Kogalo from the SportPesa Shield 5-4 on penalties at the Mbaraki grounds. The round of 16 game ended in a 1-all draw after regulation time. Bandari had taken the lead through William Wadri, but super sub Dennis Olech equalized. This was Bandari's 3rd consecutive home win against Gor, having earlier won against the KPL defending champions at the same venue in a KPL league clash last season, and beating them again during this year's league opener. Now, the draw for the AFCON will be done on Friday, but we keep tabs with that, and 250,000 shillings for every win at the Africa Cup of Nations. That is the Football Kenya Federation motivation to Harambee Stars players as Kenya makes a return to AFCON after a 15-year absence. Each player who makes it to France for the 3-week training camp and Egypt for AFCON will bank a total of 750,000 shillings. In addition, FKF has today wired 50 million shillings promised by Deputy President William Ruto to the accounts of the players and staff.
Harambee Stars players and technical bench are dancing all the way to the bank after the Football Kenya Federation confirmed that it had wired the 50 million shillings promised to the national team by the Deputy President. This is part of the 244 million shillings released by the government for the national team's preparations for AFCON. Harambee Stars are scheduled to travel to France in May for a 3-week training camp before heading to Egypt for a 1-week acclimatization camp ahead of the tournament. In addition to sharing the 50 million shillings, every player who makes it to camp in France will earn 250,000 shillings, while every player who makes it to AFCON proper will bank an additional $500,000. That makes it a total of 750,000 shillings as the minimum payout per player for AFCON. For every win at AFCON, each member of Harambee Stars will bank 250,000 shillings. The draw for AFCON will be held on Friday in Cairo, Egypt. Teams have been separated into 4 seeding pots based on national team rankings. They will then be drawn into 6 groups of 4. Pot 1 contains the higher seeded teams, which are hosts Egypt, Cameroon, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Tunisia and Senegal. Kenya is in Pot 4 that features the lowest seeds with Mauritania, Namibia, Benin and Madagascar. At the tournament, which kicks off on the 21st of June, the 24 teams will be drawn into 6 groups of 4 teams each, with the final set to take place on the 19th of July. This will be the first AFCON to be held in June and July rather than the traditional January-February period. It will therefore feature most of the continent's top players who ply their trade in Europe's top leagues. Sean Carter-Villis, NTV.
Now, quick math, if Harambee Stars win just 1 game at AFCON, Each player and members of the technical staff will bag $1 million shillings, and that is the prize of success. Kenyan Prisons defeated Asaria of Libya by straight sets to finish in 7th place in the Men's African Volleyball Club Championship. Coached by David Lungaho, the Wardens overcame Asaria 26-24, 25-17 and 25-18 to go one better than they did in the last edition. This as GSU, coached by Gideon Tarus, defeated Rwanda's Gisagare by straight sets of 25-21, 26-24 and 25-19 to finish 9th in the continental competition. The results show that Kenya's men's club volleyball still has a long way to go in Africa, with Prisons being the closest to a first ever win by a Kenyan club in Africa when they placed second in 2011. Defending champions Al Ali swept past our fellow Egyptian side Smoha in straight sets to bag a 14th title. On to athletics, and former world junior 1500 meters and 3000 meters champion Agustin Choge will be aiming for a better outing on the streets of Paris on Sunday, after failing to finish the Chicago Marathon last year. Choge, a middle distance track specialist who runs under the Global Sports Communication stable, reckons he's still finding his feet in marathon running. Alongside Choge will be compatriot Hilary Kipsambu, who placed third at the Barcelona Marathon in 2018. Kipsambu, who clocked 2 hours 7 minutes and 20 seconds in Barcelona, will be seeking to better his time. The Kenyans will face stiff competition from Ethiopian duo of Asefa Mengistu and Yemen Segei, who are both sub 2 hours 5 minutes athletes.
Preparation so far is good. I'm happy to have a strong team who has been really motivating me and inspiring me. So I'm really looking forward to do my best in Paris. I know from last year I've been having ups and downs, so due to some transitions, when you transit from the track to marathon, sometimes you have challenges of injuries, small injuries here and there, but we are trying to manage it. But so far the training has been good.
Now the Paris Marathon will be on Sunday and the Boston Marathon will be on Monday, and we'll keep keeping you up to date with those marathons. And now on to the school games, and national defending champions in different disciplines continued their charge towards defending their titles, with some already securing semi-final qualification in day 2 of Term 1 National Secondary School Games at Shimulatewa School and Shanzu Teachers Training College. Aida Warenga has pitched camp in Mombasa and brings us the day's highlights.
Brookside Term 1 Games in association with Brookside Dairy.
In girls basketball, defending champions Kawatiwi survived a scare before edging Buruburu 53-49 to secure semi-final qualification with the game to spare, proving that youth can beat experience.
We have a literally new team, because out of the team that played last year in Embu, that won the trophy in Embu, only 2 girls are surviving.
In the boys basketball, Dagoretti High School also sailed into the semis with a 58-43 win over Segalame. Their 15s rugby counterparts would make it a Dagoretti double in the semis, dismissing Kwale High 26-5. Kangaroo faltered after a positive day 1, falling 21-9 to Kakamega, who advanced to the semis courtesy of the win.
We'll keep this title to Kakamega. We're very determined.
In a pick of 7's rugby results, defending champions Laser Hill demolished St. Mary's Lushangoni 34-0. Kimilili continued their title defense in boys handball with a 31-11 win over Kanywanga to qualify for the next round. This as Kirigara had to come from behind to beat White House 19-14 in their Pool A girls handball match. In hockey, St. Anthony's made it into the next stage after beating Meru School 2-0. Meanwhile, St. George's beat M-Pesa Foundation 1-0.
All focus now turns to the final round of preliminary pool games on day 3 that will determine the semi-final participants. Aida Warenga, NTV, Mombasa.
Brookside and Strathmore University are calling out on young talented
Remember, a lot of Champions League action. It's going to be making all the talk in your coffee meetups tomorrow. So do catch it, and we'll give you updates of that in our bulletins tomorrow. I'm Orote Kiru. Thank you for watching NTV Tonight.
Employers are justified to lay off employees. That, of course, was in response to the FKE story that Bridget Ngana did in Nakuru. And it was FKE saying that on account of the economic situation that has been happening and is set to get worse. So Joshua says, does At Nation Media Group lay off employees? Is it justified? While Patrick Alushula says profits are falling, regulations keep seesawing, employee costs are rising, and government is living in a lie of the World Bank rating of increased ease of doing business. The report has no data on informal business, where 70% of Kenyans work.
Kennedy Mwaniki here says, yes, our top leadership in Ministry of Trade and Industrialization have not done enough in endorsing our products from various industries to trade in other countries, therefore killing our industries in Kenya, which is making employers lay off some of its workers. Job Kenodia has a very brief comment. He says, employees have rights to retrench people. It's their business. So let's look at the polls. So 32% are saying yes, and we have 68% who are saying no, it's not justified to lay off employees.
Did you vote?
Yes, I did.
You voted
I
yes
won't
or no?
tell you what I voted. No.
You're going to get him into some hot soup.
Of course I said no. Well, that's all we had for you tonight. My name is Dennis Okari.
And I'm Olive Barrows. Our sign language interpreter has been Flora Atieno. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.